We are the Braxtons, and you'll see that we are not like an ordinary family. Tony, Tracy, to Wanda, Trina, Tamar, and Miss Eve will teach you a thing or two on Braxton family values.
Hello, Home Slices. This is Kiera with Home Slice Adulting coming to you with my review for Braxton Family Values, Season 6, Episode 20, I believe, or 21, titled Trouble in Paradise. So thank you for clicking on this video. Do not forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with people who you think will like it. I'm going to tell you all right now, I am an emotional person, and this episode got me very emotional. We start off the episode with Trina and Mama Braxton talking about Gabe's passing. Within a matter of weeks, he went from finding out he had cancer to, passing away. And Trina is having a hard time with it. I mean, they were married for a long time. He, is the kind of like adoptive father to her children. Apparently one of her children couldn't make it to the funeral, and Trina's just been struggling with her emotions, and Mama Evelyn was, being there for her, and said that this is the first time that somebody really close to the family has passed away. And Trina is just having a hard time with it, and it just made me tear up. I was just very emotional. I haven't had anyone pass away in our family or anyone I was close to in a few years, and I just almost everyone has experienced death, and you just really have sympathy for people who are going through it. So yeah, I definitely have sympathy for Gabe's family and for Trina and her family, and it was just sad to see, but I'm glad that she has her family there to support her. Moving on, we see Tamar and Tony sit down. Okay, so when you get money, things that just don't like things that don't make sense to people who don't have money just happen. Like you pay for those things. Like Tamar had some semi-medical health professional. I don't know if he was a real nurse or doctor or whatever, wheeling an IV behind her. Now, I know that there are like these bougie health treatments where you stick an IV in your arm and it infuses you with vitamins and whatnot. And that's what Tamar was doing, and it's weird. As a person who has never experienced that before and doesn't have the money to, it's weird, okay? And so Tony was like, okay. Like, what's going on? And anyway, they're talking about, needing to be there to support Gabe and not realizing that he would pass away so suddenly, and feeling bad that they weren't there for him and that they haven't really been there for Trina the way that they should have. And it's just really sad. I really hope that they, rally around her. And I hope that we can see that in this season. Next, they talk about the 2-day tour that Tracy and Tamar went on. Tamar has this problem of never being very descriptive regarding what's going on. She gives you bits and pieces and never really fully explains what's happening. That's something that I've noticed about her. Her analysis of the situation was that she found out that there was fighting between her, management and Tracy's management. The F word flew around, which is also that. She said, as always, she feels like she is the bad guy. She is the person who kicked Tracy off of a movie set and kicked Tracy off of Tony's tour, and who, at this point in time messed up their, sister time during this 2-day tour themselves, right? So, Tony said something along the lines of, when you are on tour and you're the headliner, people assume that you are responsible for things that maybe the promoter was responsible for and all that jazz. But to be honest with you all, it sounds likely to me that Tamar wouldn't want Cliff at the tour. That sounds like a directive that maybe came from Tamar and not from anybody else. I don't know. But anyways, the point is that Tamar was not very descriptive, didn't really give Tony a full picture of what was going on, and that's maybe because she doesn't know what really happened. But moving on, next we see y'all, I got a kick out of Tony stealing all those snacks from Tamar's cabinet. That was so funny to me. She took a beer. She took a full basket of snacks out of Tamar's pantry. That was funny to me. Okay, she just took it and left after Tamar took her, sleepy time juice in her IV, which again is like so weird. But anyways, next we see Tracy sitting down to talk to Wanda regarding this tour. And this is the thing that's starting to irk me. So I am on this journey of personal discovery and all that jazz. And for me, one of the things that I have decided to do for, just my life and my sanity is to not be complicit in my own unhappiness and my mistreatment. And that means that when it's time for me to speak up regarding being mistreated or regarding having my feelings hurt or being offended, I need to speak up and let the person who offended me know what is going on, provide them with the opportunity to apologize, give me an opportunity to apologize if, I did something wrong, and then move on. And the problem with the Braxton sisters, the problem that has been the problem from day one, is that instead of going to the person who offended you and being honest about your feelings and doing it in a way that is respectful, each sister goes to a different sister to talk about their feelings. And in one way that can create teams, kind of like people who are Team Tamar versus Team Tracy, which I don't necessarily think is maybe always the problem with the Braxton sisters, but just in reality, that's something that can happen. But it also creates this lingering feeling of this happened and it was never addressed. And it's like, okay, if you never took this problem to the person who offended you, you are being complicit in your mistreatment. You're not giving them the opportunity to explain themselves. You're not giving them the opportunity to make things right. You're not giving yourself the opportunity to get things off your chest to the person you need to get them off your chest to. Like, how do we expect people to treat us better when we don't talk to them about treating us wrong? Yeah, I dislike that the sisters talk to all the other sisters except for the ones who they, currently have a problem with. It's an issue. And hopefully they can find the time or find a way to talk to each other about their feelings, as opposed to talking to somebody who, was not involved at all. So that's my analysis right now. We'll be back with more. All right, so I am back, and next we are talking about, what did we see this time? Y'all, I have such a short memory span when I'm not taking notes, but, what was it first thing we saw was Tracy talking to Tawanda about how Tracy's understanding of things is that Tracy does not have a problem with Tamar. Tracy has a problem with the people who are around Tamar, and she feels like, not trying to mince words or anything, because I don't like when people do that. Like, if you are going to say something about something, just call it what it is. Like Iyanla says, call a thing. From my understanding of what Tracy was trying to say, me putting it in more plain terms, she feels like LaTroy is mooching off of Tamar's success, and that LaTroy is trying to be close to Tamar like a sister, and that LaTroy has nothing going on in his life except for his affiliation to Tamar, and that's why he's holding on so tight. So I can't speak to that. It's very possible people who are famous, who have, clingers ons, or people who work very closely with them, who enable them and things like that, they have a number of reasons why they should stay connected to those celebrities. And it's not far-fetched, but I can't speak to that for LaTroy at all. But I think their issues go deeper than that. Since the beginning of the show, we have always seen Tamar and Tracy bump heads the most. It's probably because they are the most alike. But they just have a very contentious relationship ever since the beginning of the show. I don't know. It's a historical thing. But anyways, moving on, we also see that Mama Evelyn is on her way to have dinner with some of the other girls so they can figure out how to support Trina. And she gets a call from Vaughn. And Vaughn is just checking in on her and seeing how she's doing. And they seem to have a pretty nice relationship. And she brings up something that I forgot to mention, that the fact that Trina is in this new relationship and is grieving over the loss of her ex-husband is something that could potentially destroy her relationship with Vaughn. But Vaughn has seemed to step up to the plate and is very understanding, and I really like that. I feel like Vaughn is like boring and like I feel like, but because I like Trina so much and she has such a great energy, I think that they would balance each other out. Like, having two very fun, energetic people together doesn't make sense because they just become too, explosive or whatever. So, while I don't find Vaughn exciting or anything, I do think that they work well together and that they are, seem to have a pretty cool relationship, and Vaughn is being very respectful of the situation right now, even though it might, hurt someone's feelings to see you get so upset and kind of, choked up over your ex-husband when you're in a relationship with them now. So I get that. I enjoy seeing that Vaughn has a good relationship with Mama Evelyn. So I thought that was sweet. And then we have Mama Evelyn, Tony, Tawanda, and Tamar sit down to have lunch together, and a few things come out. They talk about Trina and for very quickly how they can support her. They don't seem to have any like concrete things that they want to do for Trina or anything like that. They just, kind of talk about it. And then Tamar drops a bomb on the family that in 4 days she's going to be going to Big Brother and she needs someone to watch Logan for up to 30 days. And so they're all looking through their calendars and trying to figure stuff out. And again, I watched Big Brother for the first few episodes. I probably want to go back and watch it now that I know that Tamar actually won Big Brother. So, but anyways, I thought it was interesting that a lot of what Tawanda said about how Tamar would behave on Big Brother is like exactly what happened on the show. But anyways, they're happy for her. They're going to support her and help her, take care of her child and whatnot. And now Tony drops the bomb on them that she isn't engaged anymore. So we'll see where that goes. Until next time. All right, y'all. So we are back. We saw Tony, Tamar, Tawanda, and Mama Evelyn sitting down after Tony made her brief little, confession that maybe wasn't a confession at all. It was very cryptic about whether or not she is still engaged to Birdman at this point. And she, her language was, maybe I'm not engaged anymore. So maybe she is, maybe she ain't. She wasn't very clear. And she was also, but the thing she was clear about was was that she was not ready to talk about it at this very moment. So, we didn't learn much. She told Trina the exact same thing. We didn't learn nothing. Okay. But this is the first time that Tony is communicating this to, her, two of her sisters and her mom. So next we see Tracy and Tawanda in a sex shop. Not really anything there, except this is when we find out that it hit the media that Tony may not be engaged to Birdman anymore. And because as far as we know, Tracy and Tony have not talked about Tony not being engaged anymore. Tracy just thinks that it's crap and rumors or whatever. So lastly, we see Tamar, Tawanda, and Mama Evelyn sitting down to talk about them watching Logan while Tamar is away in the Big Brother house. And as expected, Tamar is trying to take over everything, telling like she is like the shift lead or the shift manager, arranging shifts for her family and saying, oh, you can't take off on this day. This is your birthday, so you got 3 days to celebrate your birthday, and he'll be with Tawanda, and then you have 2 weeks, and then she has 2 weeks, and they're like, okay, this is not gonna work. Tamar, you know, they are doing you a favor by watching your child while you do something for your career. You need to be a little bit more flexible. So, but Tamar is Tamar, and you know, Mama Evelyn says, I refuse to be bossed around by Tamar. So that's that. I think things are going to get a little more intense once the ladies sit down for dinner. So we'll be back to talk about that. Okay, y'all, so this will be the final installment of this particular video, but we saw overall the lasting impression that I got from this last portion of the show was all of these sisters and Mama Evelyn rallying around Trina to be supportive to her during her time of grieving, checking in on her, seeing how she's doing, proposing for them to do a fun memorial service for her. So maybe we'll get to see that. Them remembering the good times with Gabe, and there was nothing negative, and they didn't talk about Tony's breakup with Birdman, and they didn't talk about Tamar doing Big Brother, and they didn't talk about Tamar and Tracy beefing over the last tour thing. And I just thought it was beautiful that they were able to push past all of that and help their sister. And be there for her, because their focus, you know, is on her at this moment in time. So I thought it was wonderful that they could push all of that to the side and realize that life is too short to have, you know, tension between each other and to not get along and to hold grudges and all that stuff. And like Trina said, like, you know, in life, you have disagreements, you have arguments, but at the end of the day, as long as you know, have breath in your body, you're still able to make it right and move on. And so I really hope that this is a eye-opening, awakening moment for all of the sisters, and they, you know, realize what they need to do to help put their relationships back together. So I thought it was really sweet. I was over here in tears, because we all know that Trina and Gabe had a tumultuous relationship, but at the end of the day, like, none of that is important when it comes to like life or death. So I don't know why this is impacting me as much as it is, but I'm just really touched by this episode in particular. Okay. So that's it for this episode. Thank you all for watching. You might not want to share this one because I'm getting emotional. So peace out, home slices.